Welcome to the How to Establish the Budget section of Budgeting 101, FIU's Budget Basics. How do we budget for E&G funds at FIU? Well, the process begins with OFP determining the total E&G funds available university-wide. These control totals are calculated using a traditional budget approach called incremental budgeting, in which monies are allocated based on previous year's budget adjusted for the following: legislation action, recurring and non-recurring in nature, plus changes for critical investments. These control totals are communicated to the EABMs and distributed to the unit and college level. In turn, finance directors and managers work with their respective department chairs and deans to allocate the total budget to the various accounts and months. When budgeting for auxiliaries, consider the following. Auxiliary enterprises generate revenues, unlike E&G. They are managed as a business, and as such, their fund balances accumulate from year to year. Appropriate uses of revenues are limited by statute, so please refer to the guidelines located in the Auxiliary and Enterprise Development website. Now, let's take a look at budgeting for auxiliary with a more strategic focus. For existing auxiliaries with minimal expected growth, consider some of the following. When determining revenue, obtain historical performance from prior years. Make adjustments based on strategic goals and expected changes in the market condition. For example, citation revenue generated by parking decreased when PG5 opened. When determining expenses, obtain historical performance from prior years as well. And consider changes in resources required to operate activity, such as hiring additional personnel, effects of inflation or contractual price changes, and capital purchases. In both cases, do not forget to determine timing of revenues and expenses, essentially the effects of seasonality. Now, when budgeting for new auxiliaries with significant expected growth, consider some of the following. Gauge your demand for new services or programs. How large is the pool of customer? Research the market competition. What are they doing? What are they charging? What is our competitive advantage? Why would someone come here? Do we have the resources to provide services? Will other services suffer? Do we have the facilities to provide services? What can we charge for these services? For expenditures, we are to consider the following. What are the fixed costs? Now, those are costs that will not change with the number of customers. For example, salaries and benefits, office expenses, space, facility cost. What are the variable costs? Now, these will increase with the number of customers. For example, food, software licenses, duplicating, textbooks. Another thing to consider is what startup funds will I be needing? How much reserve do I need to have for working capital and future capital outlay requirements? This concludes How to Establish the Budget section of Budgeting 101, FIU's Budget Basics. Next, we will cover tips.